Welcome everyone to our IARE WNS Building a Future-Ready Workforce Management Strategy call. That is a mouthful. I am Michelle Lord. I'm going to be the moderator on this call. I'm also the president with IARE and director of reservation sales with Accor. So I'm on the east coast of Canada. Today, we're going to have lots of great panelists to really talk about what's going to continue to bring us into the future. I think what's really fun is that WNS and IARE did a similar call in July of 2021. So just think about how much has changed since July of 2021 and what would we have told ourselves back then that we know now. So I'm excited for this call today, and I'm going to hand it over to Toby to tell us a little bit about WNS and really kick us off today.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon, good morning, maybe to one or two of you, but great to be with you. My name is Toby March. I've met a number of you, so great to see you guys again. And a little bit of background on WNS. I'll try not to make this salesy, but we wanted to kind of give you a little bit of background and some context to the company. So 90 seconds, guys, and that's and we'll kind of cut straight into the webinar. So WNS, leading business process management firm. We were established in 1996. We were the contact center for British Airways. They actually span us out to Pincus Warburg as a third party. So we were spun out from British Airways. We are about 60,000 people. We operate in about 16 countries and 60 delivery centers. We were publicly listed in 2006 on the New York Stock Exchange. And in the contact center space, we provide support to kind of over 100 customers today, close to 20,000 agents, servicing 9 industries. We're kind of pretty much specialized in travel. So we have about 75 logos in travel kind of worldwide. Airlines, a lot of airlines, a lot of TMCs, a lot of OTAs, Expedia and others. While we have 60 delivery centers around the world, we operate at scale in the Philippines, as you can imagine, with close to 15,000 folks. In India, where we have close to 30,000 folks. South Africa, 5,000 folks. English as a first language, absolutely fantastic place for English. And Romania and Costa Rica, Romania for European languages and Costa Rica for Spanish, of course. So look, we bring a combination of human and AI to the table to drive better outcomes in omni-channel customer interactions. That's the heart of what we do. I told you you'd get 90 seconds. That's my 90 seconds. Back to you, Michelle.
Great, thanks, Toby. So just as we get started off on this call, while we want this to be as interactive as possible, so if you have questions, feel free to stop at any point. I am going to ask everyone to mute their lines just to start us off, but feel free to come on at any point. And so we're going to get into introducing our speakers. They're actually going to introduce themselves today. So Aniket, why don't you start us off?
Sure. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Aniket Godbole. I lead the customer experience practice here at WNS. I'm based in North America in Houston. Been with WNS for about 15 years and with the contact center industry for about 20 years. Managed some very large operations within airlines and hospitality, and done different roles, including transformation, capability, and digital. So very happy to be on this IR platform today, and very happy to interact with all of you. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you, Aniket. Nazneen?
Sure, Michelle, thanks. Hi, my name is Nazneen Desley. I've been part of WNS now for 5 years. I head HR for CIS, and I'm based in India. Very excited to be part of this panel today.
Thank you, Nazneen. And Mary, some of you may already know you.
Hi, I'm Mary Bottom. I'm with Hershey Entertainment and Resorts. I oversee the day-to-day operations of the call center. I've been with Hershey Entertainment for about 17 years and out of Pennsylvania.
Great. Great. Thank you. Thank you to our panelists. And Rhonda, how about you start us off on this call with our first poll? So if everybody would like to answer the following question, which of the following is the biggest workforce management challenge for your business right now? I'll give you about 10 seconds to answer. Rhonda, would you like to reveal the responses? Ooh, so a little bit of everything, but I would say it's fairly consistent in terms of attracting and retaining talent, which is very interesting considering everyone on this call is really all over the world. So certainly with Accor, I would say that's one of our biggest challenges right now. Mary, do you want to talk to us a little bit about the challenges in your workforce?
Yeah, absolutely. So first, a brief background on our team. We had a small remote team prior to the pandemic, and then the pandemic happened and we went fully remote, and we have stayed fully remote and are staying fully remote. So had to kind of look at things a little differently. So while the 4 answers to the poll, I could go on and talk through some of the challenges that we faced as we faced all categories. I mean, there's certainly things that we can talk about. I'll focus on 2. So the first, managing a remote workforce. So in the office, we found that being physically visible to the team and standing next to them and working through issues and problems, that was easy. Now we're remote, and what does that look like? And how do we just do things differently, right? So one-on-ones, we can all agree that is really important. Having a consistent one-on-one touch base with the team, asking what they need, following up, listening to calls with them, coaching them through, all important in the in-person world, equally important, or even more important in remote workforce. We found that we also need lots of different kinds of audits and checking things differently to making sure they're productive. Well, we're not hounding them and making sure that they're on the phones all the time. We have a productivity standard in our office, and our incentive is tied to that. So that really puts the onus on the agent, and they are owning their work because that affects their pay as well. The more they book, the more they're on the phone, the more money they can make. So it's all important. Like I said, we do have audits, making sure they're logged in on time and things like that. And then just being there to support all the time. So when there's a question that comes up, we can't go over to their desk and help them, but we can open a Google Meet and walk through an issue and talk through the things that they need help with. So it's just doing things seemingly that make sense, but just differently. And then we also found it's important to test their knowledge on things. We'll email things out all the time, and things change all the time. But are they reading these things? Are they staying up to date on the information? So just testing their knowledge here and there. I'll throw in a, if you read this, tell me hello kind of thing, just to double check. So it's always important. So I think there was a lot of people that said attracting and retaining talent. In the poll, our team is semi-unique in the fact that we are the only department that is fully remote in our company, which is great, but also poses challenges as well. When we open a position, we have lots of applicants, but are they all right for the position? That's what we have to determine and make sure that we are selecting the right people for the position. Right now, we don't have any positions open, but we have people asking us in the company, hey, can I join your team? Hey, you work remote. Can I work remote as well? So while that's exciting to see everybody that's excited to join our team, it's not just a remote job. It's really trying to vet through those people that are interested in making sure their skills align with our team too. So what I've done recently is, while I don't have any positions, I've set up meetings with people that are interested in our department and saying, yes, we are remote, but here are the qualifications. Here's what skills you need to possess to be a part of our team, and really setting that up prior to when we open a position. And then retaining talent. We can all agree retaining talent is extremely important. I actually just watched the news this morning, and they talked about perks and benefits to offer your team to keep them on your team. And while perks and benefits are super important, I think that offering flexibility is also important. We had policies in place that we had for so long that it was, why do we have them? What is the purpose of them, and why are we holding it so tight? So looking at those things differently. I do the schedule for our team, so I've instilled this flexibility in the schedule. Being remote, they have a lot of things at home that come up unexpectedly, or they need their shifts to look different to get a kid off the bus or something. So I have members on my team for working 10-hour days, 8-hour days, split shifts, weird shifts that don't make sense to me, but that works for them. And what I found with having all of these different shifts, it helps me with the flexibility in scheduling, because my coverage is all over the place and it helps my phone volume. So schedule flexibility is huge in remote work, and that brings also in our breaks, our team members that take breaks through the day. It's so silly. We had set breaks prior, and we told them when to go on break in the day. And we've moved to this flexible break schedule where they go on break when they need to go on break. Of course, we have parameters and things in place that say these are the needs, but if you need your 30-minute now, go now. And it was kind of eye-opening in the fact that they're managing their breaks better than we manage them their breaks. So just looking at things completely different but simple. It's like this, oh, this is an easy fix and an easy change. Why didn't we do it before? And a lot of times we just put it in place and say, this is a test run, we're going to try. And it's really worked out for us in the scheduling department and the breaks. And my mantra for our team is, if you're flexible with me, you. And we've come to this working together mindset as a full team. So
I love that, Mary. I love that the flexibility, and it's kind of like if we always do what we've always done. So to see you kind of get out of the box, breaks for me, you say that and it scares me instantly, but definitely something that would be worth exploring for sure.
Yeah, it's very scary because somebody will say, I need this weird schedule. And I'm like, well, okay, I can, but everybody needs a weird schedule and it's all different. So it all works into what I need. And then when I'm giving them what they need, when I need something, it's easier for them to say yes. And if they can, they will. And it's that just working together. And I've turned it too in the discussions of, this is a business need and this is what I need. And how can we work together? Because I know you have personal things, but we also have business things too. So let's come to that common place. So with that, I'll turn it over to Nazim.
Sure. I think some very, very interesting insights that you shared with us, Mary, and that brings me to some of the challenges that we are seeing. And we continue to see a VUCA world, right? We see a lot of complexity, we see a lot of volatility, we see a lot of ambiguity, and this is the business environment in which we operate today, right? And trends indicate that we will see this trend for the next few years or so. It's going to stay that way. We spoke about talent attraction. We've spoken about the influx of resignations. We've spoken about the great resignation now for close to 12 to 18 months. And we're seeing a growing trend in the industry where employees are quitting the workforce in large numbers, sometimes never to return, right? And this in turn is creating skill gaps, talent gaps. I'm sure most of you agree that we as a service-based organization, our success is inevitably linked to our employee skills and experience. And hence, reskilling and upskilling is so very crucial and the only way to create a more sustainable and successful workplace. And I think as organizations, we must continue our efforts to create a trained, flexible, digitally capable and a resilient workforce, which understands the needs of the future and is constantly keeping efforts on upskilling to stay relevant. I think that's absolutely critical in today's times. We've spoken about the digital disruption, and the only way ahead is to get digital agility in our people. I think that will be the ultimate modus operandi for our workforce. Demand will increase for a more automated workplace, and leaders must find a way to create employees who know how to work with smart technology. I think there is no other way to put this. We've heard from Mary around how her entire team is working remotely. And I think today we have employees working in hybrid environments. They have more choices about where they want to work, when they want to work, how much they want to work. And we just need to adapt ourselves with this kind of flexibility that our workforce is demanding today from us. Responsibilities of our managers are increasing because today they're managing a blended workforce. Some employees are in the office. At the same time, some employees are working in a remote environment. And we must agree that today there's a lot of pressure on our managers to acquire skills. And, we've not really given them that much time. During the pandemic, they've just managed to kind of smoothly transition into that challenge and really, really mitigated it well. But it has stretched their bandwidth. And, it's becoming more difficult to provide hands-on assistance. Employees working independently or in remote environments have their own set of challenges, I'm sure, and I'm sure Mary agrees, because suddenly we've seen, boundaries getting blurred between work and between your personal time. You sometimes feel that I'm working around the clock, and I face that when I've worked from home, where I just don't know when my day starts and when it's going to get over. And a dispersed work ecosystem means many employees are not able to build the same kind of social connects that we built a few years ago. There is a little bit of a damage to our social fabric. It has led to feelings of disengagement, sometimes loneliness. And I think companies must look at employee well-being to try and, help our employees cope up. In fact, we heard Mary again talk about, monitoring our workforce in the remote environment. And, hybrid work has fostered greater interest in monitoring workplace productivity when people are logging in. Security, data breaches, etc. And, companies are now trying to balance between monitoring productivity as well as focusing on employee engagement in the remote environment, ensuring that we are all, tied by a golden thread to try and see how we can create a feeling of belongingness. How do you ensure that we continue to focus on maintaining a social fabric that allows us to keep everybody engaged with the values and the missions of the company. And that's not easy. It's extremely important for leaders to foster a hybrid workplace that, embraces the work styles of all our employees, wherever they're working from, find newer means to capture their mind space, and hopefully get them to feel that they belong. Yeah. And in fact, I was very keen to understand from Mary if, your managers have expressed challenges, the ones that I outlined, and, how have you tried to, help them or enable their journey? I'm very, very curious to understand.
So for our leadership team, we're really rely on each other and support. So if somebody it's really just understanding all the roles in the leadership team, I think, is really important. And if somebody is overwhelmed, what can somebody else help with? So we have different levels of coordinator and then coaching managers. And maybe a coaching manager has a report that can be run by a coordinator that has time to do it. So really just understanding our roles in the leadership team, I think, is really important, and continuing to support one another, because we're always supporting the agents and trying to figure out how to help them and engage them, but we also need supported as well. So that's where it's leaning on each other, I think, is important.
Absolutely. Can't agree with you, Mo. Super.
Nazneen, I do have a question for you. So just based
Mhm.
on part of what you had mentioned in regards to enhancing the leadership skills, is there specific skills that you would focus on for those that are working and leading home-based teams right now?
Absolutely. So definitely I would want, in fact, some of the challenges that we faced pertained to some of the experiences that I shared with you. And the one skill that we really focused on upskilling our managers on was how to manage remote work teams. What are some of the challenges that they need to be aware of? How do they enhance the emotional quotient, empathize, the different situations that our people are dealing with. We've also, during the pandemic, when we went completely remote, definition of workplace changed. They were not working out of our offices. We were actually going into their homes. And I think it was extremely important for managers to be aware of these changed boundaries and keep emotional well-being and wellness upfront in whatever they did.
Great, thank you. One thing we should mention as well is if you have questions along the way, please put them in the chat if you don't want to shout them out loud. And so just, I guess the first question.
Megan had a perspective. You were sharing something. Do you want to just mention that, Megan?
Is this in response to Michelle's question?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can share a little bit. So we talk about engagement, and I think there's a piece of engagement to the company and the work, but then engagement to each other as well. So our company is really good. Our CEO will send out video updates at least twice a year, usually quarterly. But we've also, especially at the start of our work from home time, we were sending out like at least once a month, just video updates from our director in our department and things like that. But I'm really focused on the kind of interpersonal engagement, because when you feel like part of a team, it's like, I feel like you're more encouraged to go to work every day. And when you know that you're going to have fun with the people that you're working with, even remotely, you want to show up. So we do, we're Hershey, Cocoa Kindness Crew, which we allow everyone to opt into, and then they just submit their, personal or home address or personal email, and then we share that information as well as things that just like bring a smile to their face, their favorite color, favorite snacks, that kind of like very basic stuff. But we share that with someone else who has opted into this little program. And then like every 2 weeks or so, you're just supposed to send your person like a little note. Mary actually does a joke of the day every day for the whole department. So her person sent her a little joke book with dad jokes in it. I've sent my person cozy fuzzy socks because we work from home and we can. Or for my birthday last year, they sent me like my favorite candy bars and a candle and that kind of thing. So it's just kind of keeping people connected. You don't have to spend money on it, but you can. And people love it. The people who are into it, like they really enjoy being a part of it, but it's not forced on anyone either. So that's kind of what we do here.
Love that. Thank you, Megan. So maybe we can switch gears a little bit. And Aniket, I'm going to ask you a question. How can businesses address these workforce management challenges and tackle the new normal?
Sure. I think we're all here to deliver that ultimate customer experience. So it's important to first to discover what matters the most to our customers and to organizations. So let's start with the customer. Now, customer today wants speed, efficiency, empathy, emotional connect, intelligent interactions across all the touch points that they come from. From an organization perspective, what they're trying to deliver is a frictionless superlative experience, right? While continuing to be agile, effective, efficient, and at the end profitable, right? But all this cannot happen by an accident, right? Obviously, you require some amount of digital, you require some amount of creativity, some spontaneity, like Mary gave some examples, and of course, then you need data. What we are seeing today within our workforce practice is that there's been a significant shift, like Nazneen spoke about how people have started working remotely and how there's a need for upskilling, reskilling, right? So And we heard Megan talk about how they're using a little bit of digital and technology to drive certain employee experiences and models. I think there are three clear Ds, as I may call them, right? One is the whole domain leadership, right? Of how you understand the intricacies within your domain. When you talk about hospitality, what kind of call arrival patterns you get, what kind of queries are coming in, what kind of complexities are coming in, right? And what kind of resources you require to manage that, right? Then there's also about the digital aspect, right? Of what kind of technologies and tools are available out there to really drive those efficiencies and effectiveness. And in the end, how do you actually deliver it, right? Which is your delivery excellence, right? Of how you bring all of that to the table and how does the rubber meet the road. I think all of that is important to tackle the new normal, right? So the WFM practitioners, according to me today, must reimagine how these factors work individually and how they interact and how they can be combined to create that memorable customer experience, right? I think at the end of the day, it's all about agility to manage disruptions, variability in volumes, optimize costs, and deliver that experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Aniket. Sierra, I see you mentioned here in regards to working on a wellness program to help support your team. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So recently we did, or we are kind of building this wellness program throughout the center where we want to post, we're kind of trying to post once a week or at least once every couple weeks off of something that could be wellness. So it could be physical, it could be emotional, it could be just kind of the different things that we found. Obviously for February, we kind of discussed, care and love and affection, whether that's in a work environment or personal or something like that. So we kind of discussed things like that. But along with that, we actually have started doing a colleague spotlight, which we're going to do that once a month, where we're going to select some different colleagues from different departments and just kind of to get people to introduce themselves. They answer a little questionnaire. They send us photos and things like that they're open for us to share, and in hopes that it kind of helps people engage with one another and get to know each other better. So it's definitely something fun that I think we're kind of trying to start up.
That's great. Sometimes with wellness, people don't even know where to start. So by seeing a colleague and what they're doing certainly can encourage each other as well. So
yeah,
fun initiative. Aniket, did you want to do a poll question?
Yes.
All right, Rhonda, would you like to launch the next poll? So as travel rebounds, is there an advantage to companies if they have agility in staffing?
That's an easy one.
Yeah, Rhonda, I think we'd go live with that one.
Yeah. Sorry about the typo, guys. I copied and pasted the question. Give me strength.
It's all right. Aniket, is there anything further you'd like to add in that area?
Yeah, I think everybody violently agrees. So I think I'm just going to give you a few examples of how some of the organizations, especially in hospitality, have been solving this business problem, right? So today you have a global talent pool where you could look at different staffing models, right? You have full-time equivalents, you've got options for flexi working hours, right? And then you also have part-timers, right? Now let's look at different situations in which you can actually deploy some of these models, right? So obviously a full-time equivalent is a straitjacket solution where you look at your call arrival patterns, you decide on the number of people that you require and you staff them, right? But there are various times where the arrival patterns are very different, right? It could be because of the nature of the business, right? Like your bookings are higher on a Wednesday, or towards a weekend, you could have higher spikes coming in, right? How do you now start staffing for situations like that? Where do you get those resources from? Are there different talent models where labor laws globally are different, right? So you could actually dip into some of those models where you could hire people in bursts, right, or on demand, right, depending upon the requirement of the business. So we've had multiple examples where, for example, a utilities customer has got spike in volumes on Mondays where the spikes are almost 150, 125%, right? Now they bring in a staff which logs in only on Mondays where they're doing shorter shifts and shorter hours through the week, right? Then you also have situations where there are seasonality based businesses where you've got certain seasons where you've got higher call volume coming in. Now, those kind of companies are hiring part-timers, right, who come in only for that particular season, and then they move on and they come back for the next season. So there are different models that are being deployed, right, to manage the surge and the variability in the volume, right? And I think there's a big opportunity for all organizations to dip into this, as we call it, an open talent model, where you look at a global talent pool, you have a combination of blend, whether it's remote, on-premise, and within that also there's a blend of whether you hire a full-timer, part-timer, or a gig kind of a worker, right? And we have seen companies manage variability up to 200 to 300% by day of the week, by week of the month, and by month of the year, right? And this borderless talent model is gaining momentum for sure, right? Also on the onboarding side of it, obviously, because hiring these resources at scale and at speed becomes a challenge, there are certain ideas developed, like there are upskilling programs that are developed where companies have a street to seat kind of a model where they train people on various skills that are required and have a pool of resources who are all the time ready, right? It is like on demand talent available to quickly hire from, because you are running a platform to upskill and reskill them in the background. So that's something that we have seen work really well for some of our customers. Thank you. I think that's what I had to share.
Annika, do you have any suggestions for, I guess, for us, we struggle with the idea of gig work to be able to keep our colleagues trained and making sure that, you know, with our content that's ever changing, what do you suggest, or how do you suggest staying on top of that with gig work if they're only working a minimum number of hours?
Yeah, so from a gig perspective, what we typically do is we do 2 or 3 things, right? One is obviously, like I said, we have an upskill program. We call it the Academy, right? So this is like a training institute that we've set up where we constantly train people off the street on various skills required. Like we would give them a small course on GDS upskilling. It could be reservations desk crash course for a hotel, for the hotel industry, right? So we would typically train them on various industries, right, and create a pool of resources who are available, and we know that this pool, and because we have trained them, they're obviously available to us as a first choice. And that allows us to scale very quickly and solve some of these problems very quickly, where availability of gig becomes a challenge, especially availability of a skilled gig becomes a challenge. Mm-hmm. And the other piece is around how do you retain them once that program is, or once that season is over, or once that peak is over. How do you repurpose them in other programs and then perhaps bring them back to your to the program that is required, is something that we do through our workforce management practices. So there's a so basically the trough in the program becomes an availability of that resource for another program, right? And then when the peak comes in again, the resource comes back. So those are certain things that we do pretty well using our workforce practices, but that's working pretty well for us.
Great. Thank you. Rhonda, would you like to go to the next poll? How important is implementation of technology in modernizing your organization's workforce management strategy? All right, Rhonda, if you'd like to, there we go. So quite important. Anika, would you like to talk to us a little bit about this?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I think I see some mixed reactions, but yeah, I wanted to give a view on how technology actually is changing the way workforce management is delivered forever, actually, right? So the role of a workforce management is going beyond timekeeping and scheduling, right? You have multi-channel access, first of all, right? Where the customer is demanding access on the go, whether it's through a bot or whether it's on the chat or whether it's on social channels or whether it's on an asynchronous messaging platform like your mobile app. So when you look at staffing, you've got to look at staffing in a holistic way across all these channels. Now that itself brings in a lot of technology in play, right? Of how do you implement that technology? How do you provide that access to the customer? And how do you staff for that, right? The other piece is around touchless CX. There's a big shift towards touchless CX where I think artificial intelligence is taking center stage, where we are trying to resolve most of the queries using artificial intelligence, right? How do you drive that up? How do you drive concurrency? How do you ensure that more and more queries get resolved on self-service so that the more complex queries can be handled by your staff, frontline staff, becomes an important question to respond to. The third is around the whole assisted experience, where once a call comes in, how quickly can you resolve that query for the customer? How can you ensure that there is limited handoff? There is higher amount of personalization. I think there are multiple tools out there which are doing that. Think of sentiment analysis, think of next best action, right? The fourth is around reducing learning curves. There are many examples around simulated work environments, creating automated learning platforms, pathways, and allowing for that upskilling and reskilling to happen while on the role or on the job. The fourth aspect that we see is around automated experience, where people are looking at opportunities to automate their back office and process flows, by which just passing back more time to the customer to resolve the customer query and listen to the customer more attentively. Somebody, I think, Megan answered that question on how they're trying to manage performance in a remote environment. There are various gamification tools today available where you can set up badges and set up milestones and drive the right values. Even though people are working from a remote environment, they can feel completely engaged and a part of a larger team through these kind of gamified performance management platforms. And then there is also the whole analytics component in where you can bring in a lot of customer profiling, interaction analytics, behavior analytics, journey analytics to really take your customer experience to the next level. So the point that I'm trying to drive is that there is enough and more technology out there which can really improve the way you look at workforce, the way you engage workforce, and the way you drive outcomes. And there are multiple ways you can demonstrate ROI. We've seen typical 3x to 5x ROI, whether it's in terms of percentage self-serve, percentage enrollments, percentage customer churn, reduction in customer effort, net promoter scores. So I think all of these metrics have seen significant improvement with the use of technology. So I definitely would urge the group to look at different technologies available to really solve for the workforce management practice.
Great. Thank you. A couple of things I know that we've implemented over the last couple of years, and certainly the most recent one was as basic as an electronic gift card. So giving them, I know that there's certainly some companies out there that have that attached to gamification. For us, it really was, we just want to be able to give you a coffee in the moment and recognize you in the moment. And so we've joined forces with a company that's out there where the team leaders can deposit $5 and a card. You can create a card that makes sense to whatever it is that you're trying to recognize. In this case, just recently, we've done one on personalization. So congratulations for having such great personalization scores. Enjoy a coffee on us. And so it's made instant recognition a lot easier for us. And it's great for the colleague because they get to go in and select what kind of gift card they want. So it's personalized from their perspective. So The other piece of technology, and so for anyone who's been at IARE, I talk about this over the last couple of years. I've talked about a tool that we have called IntraDM, where it gives us the opportunity to deliver training and videos to agents on a call or when they're off the call, and so that it actually logs them out and gives them an opportunity to watch whatever it is you're delivering. It could be 3 or 5 minutes, gives them a little variety in their day, and then logs them back on, and it kind of helps them work throughout the day. So does anybody have any new forms of technology, I guess with or without the name of the company, just something that's working really well for you that you're glad you implemented? Or we can come back to that too. Okay. Well, I guess the next poll is kind of similar to that question. So have you already implemented any next-gen workforce management strategies in your organization? In the process. Okay. So next call we'll talk about the in the process, if we have any wins from those. Aniket, were you going to continue with this question?
Yeah, I think Nazneen will pick that on the other technologies. Nazneen?
Okay.
Sure. Thanks so much, Aniket and Michelle. So as I mentioned earlier, in the service-based organizations, I think most of our success is linked to how much our employees know, what kind of skills they've developed, and hence it becomes essential for all of us as employees to create a workplace culture of innovation, creativity, and passion. I think I can't stress on that enough. And I'm going to share a few examples that we do at our organization. For us, our people agenda centers around enabling our people to outperform. That's our key focus area. Our talent management strategy prioritizes the empowerment of our workforce, especially digital enablement, and it's built on 3 key pillars. One is creating a future-ready workforce. Second, robust leadership bench strength. And third, focus on talent development. In fact, we've adopted a 3-pronged approach, and there are 3 key initiatives that we've deployed. One is building a digital future. We call it DIFU, D-I-F-U. DIFU was created to identify, assess, and build competencies evolving around the entire new evolving business landscape. We partnered with Deloitte, and we listed 23 key competencies that we believe will help us identify if our people are digitally ready. Yeah, and it was called the digital competency framework. And it had a maturity scale, 5-point maturity scale. We've also created a digital assessment platform that was designed and developed to identify the gaps. And these gaps allowed us to do a gap analysis and build interventions to help us bridge those gaps through targeted and focused leadership development programs, especially targeting the areas where we felt digital readiness should be further focused on. In fact, this program has helped us build digital mindset, enhance problem-solving abilities, and we put about 200 of our top leaders through the pilot, and we're very, very happy with the results. The second key initiative that we have in place is WNS education program, which is a curriculum-based certification for developing tech-savvy domain specialists, and I think Aniket touched upon that a bit. And again, the entire objective is to help build the right skills to thrive in a digital world. Our aspiration is to develop 30% of our workforce over the next 3 years on through programs like RPA, Fast Track, AI, ML, Data Storyteller, Intelligent Visualization certifications, etc. Third big focus area for us is future skills, and we have our internal learning platform called Glint. And we have self-service modules that are uploaded where people can actually go on the tool and pick up programs that they would like to upskill themselves on, especially emerging technologies. In addition to this, as I mentioned, creating a leadership bench strength is absolutely critical for us. and to ensure that we have future ready for frontline managers up to senior leadership level ready, should we have an opportunity for them to start picking up new roles, etc. We have a list of marquee programs that we've created for this purpose. In fact, one of our programs is being developed in partnership with Korn Ferry and Harvard, and we've put our top 100 leaders through this program. In addition to this, we have programs like Aspire, we have programs like Compass for our frontline managers. We also have Centurion, especially for our women managers, to help them overcome some of the challenges that we've seen from a competency building perspective. Again, touching on what Aniket mentioned, and Michelle, your question, industry knowledge is absolutely critical when we operate in a space like ours. And it's so important for our employees to be abreast with operational nuances, transformation, digital strategies, new workflows. And it's extremely important for them to go through some of these industry perspectives to be able to visualize and understand the big picture, how they contribute, what is the end-to-end service chain, etc. So those are some of the focus areas. Domain upskilling and creating a pool of domain-ready resources is very, very important for us. And for us, while we are BPM, we definitely, take pride in our domain knowledge that as a company we have, and we continue to invest. From an employee lifecycle perspective, we've created a completely digitally infused lifecycle management right from hire to retire. So, we have a fantastic tool called Smart Recruiters that helps us source talent from anywhere in the world. We have a tool called Clickboarding, which allows us to onboard candidates, again, anywhere in the world, because it's completely online. Once they are onboarded, they go through a completely digitized induction program. Where they understand, where there are these interactive sessions, self-paced modules that they can go through in their first 2 or 3 weeks of joining WNS. We have a fully digital, a chatbot called Amelia, which acts as a self-service tool. So, and we deal with a multi-generational workforce. There are people who don't want to speak to anybody. They prefer to go ask their query to a bot and get their answers resolved. We also use this tool to run surveys, and we run a lot of engagement surveys with our employees to assess their mood. We call it a moodometer. It allows us as HR to be able to understand, what are the pain points, where do I have detractors, what do I need to put in, what my people agenda should include, and it helps me keep pace with the changing expectations of our new workforce. Then we have, a WNS proprietary performance engagement tool called Talent Turf, and it allows employees and managers to schedule record performance conversations, set goals. I think it's so very important to continuously engage our people on what they're doing, how they're doing, what do they need us to support them with, etc. And it's a fantastic tool that allows us to kind of completely digitize and, enable people to set the pace of the conversation that they want with their supervisors, their colleagues, HR, etc. So I think, these are some of the things that I wanted to share on this. In fact, I think we have 10 minutes to go. So Aniket, do you think it's a good time to kind of summarize whatever we've spoken so far, and then maybe we can take some questions?
Yeah, sure. I think all great conversations and great inputs from some of our participants today. I think as we look at a future-ready workforce, we got to focus on the upskilling and reskilling, like you said. Manage scale and demand variability, perhaps leverage a hybrid global talent model. Look at leveraging technology and increasing the affinity to digital plus human in your workspaces. Maybe investing in employee experience, right, will positively impact your customer experience, right? I think that's a unanimous discussion point, where we invest in employee experience to impact customer experience. And there is a big opportunity to modernize the whole workforce management strategy. I think that were some of the takeaways I had. I'll allow the group to chime in, and if there are any other comments or any other takeaways, please feel free to jump in.
I'd love to hear from this group from an employee experience perspective. Is there anything specific that you're doing that has worked well for you this year? I know Megan talked previously about their Cocoa kindness. Does anybody else have anything that has worked really well for you? One thing we're doing, and we're actually in the process of doing it right now, is we've implemented quarterly socials. And so our socials are meant to be no work talk. And on each one of our socials, we've invited one of our executive members to just show up and socialize and answer questions. Again, it's more about them individually than it is about the business. And we've made it completely optional as well. So we've gone out and we've said, who wants to participate? We don't want to force you to be a part of a social if you're not interested. And we had an 83% pickup on those who wanted to participate in the social. So it's one best practice that we have in process right now.
Nice number, Michelle.
Right?
Yeah, great
It's
number.
very
Awesome.
exciting. It was higher than we had anticipated, and then we kind of went, oh, look, 80-20. So it was pretty pretty exciting.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Anyone else have any best practices, engagement, employee experience, customer experience, anything you'd want to share with the group?
Crystal just added something to the chat.
Oh, please tell us more about that. We've implemented virtual water coolers. So yes, Crystal, can you share some more information on this?
Yeah, how does that work?
Yeah, so we're a completely virtual call center. And what we do is find times when we're not as busy on the phones, and we'll pair off people here and there. So usually we try to make it so that it's the two people are different each time. And they get about half an hour, and basically they can just chat about whatever they want. So previous to the pandemic, we were completely in-house. We were in an office. So yeah, it was definitely a more, drive-by. You can just chat with the person sitting next to you, that kind of thing. So there was a lot more of that collaborative nature, collaborative kind of thought process. So this was an attempt to bring back some of that collaboration, and yeah. And if they don't want to talk about work, that's completely fine. It's their 30 minutes, and they can do with it as they want. And it's gotten very good, positive feedback. We're a seasonal industry, so we're extremely busy during the winter. We're a ski industry. So it's, we haven't been able to do it over the last couple of months, but we've already had a lot of our agents asking, when are they coming back? When can we do them again? Because they
Excellent.
Yeah.
Very clever. Crystal, can you remind us which organization you're with?
So I work for Vail Resort.
Vail. Okay.
Great.
Cool. Thank you.
I'm actually in the Canadian office, so I work for Whistler Blackcomb.
Okay.
So I'm
Very good.
on the west coast of the north.
Very good. Thank you for sharing.
Oh, my pleasure.
Thank you. Anyone else? I know we have about 4 minutes left to wrap up this call. I guess I may just take these 4 minutes to quickly talk for those of you who are not familiar with IARE. I certainly have seen some names on this call that I haven't seen before. We meet generally once to twice in person per year. We're meeting in Savannah coming up in the fall, so stay tuned for more information on that conference. We are actually going to be opening up registration next month, beginning of March. And the advantage of IARE is really having the opportunity to do exactly this, to be able to talk to one another and understand best practices. We know there's all kinds of really large associations out there. They're probably great as well. But the great part with IARE is that we really have been building personal relationships at the same time over the last few years, and we spend a lot of time connecting with one another. I know for myself, every time I go to launch something new, I have an entire group of individuals that I can reach out to and gain some insight from outside of my organization. So we're happy that you were all able to join us today, Toby, and all of WNS. Thank you for your ongoing partnership. I'm glad we've been able to make this happen again, and hope to see you in the fall as well.
Yeah, absolutely you will. Well, thank you very much, everybody.